The Portland Trail Blazers season, well, it was over a long time ago, but you guys liked my video on the Utah Jazz and what's next for them, as it really quickly became one of my most popular videos. So today, I decided, why not continue this series, and this time, let's talk about the Portland Trail Blazers. As we all know, they had a disastrous season in the 2019-20 season. After making the Western Conference the previous year, well, they stumbled to the 8th seed and would lose in 5 games to the Los Angeles Lakers. And I think it's time we reflect on this team, what went wrong for them, and things they can do to improve their team, and what they should do going forward. However, before we do get started, you guys, make sure you like the video if you guys did enjoy, as it really helps out the channel. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new, as I'm trying to reach 100 subscribers, and I've decided that why not do a Q&A when we reach 100 subscribers. So if you guys want to learn more about me and ask some questions about me, well, click the subscribe button, as I will be doing a Q&A at 100 subscribers, and it would mean a lot to me if we could reach that goal. So with all of that being said, let's just get things started. Now, of course, let's talk about this roster. Damian Lillard is the first guy we're going to talk about. He's easily by far their best player, as in the 2019-20 regular season, he averaged 30 points per game, 8 assists per game, shooting 46% from the field and 40% from 3. He's a really good shooter, scorer, playmaker, and scorer. Did I repeat that? Anyway, scorer, playmaker, and shooter. That's what it is. He's one of the best point guards in the NBA and one of the best players in the NBA, period. He's a borderline superstar player and is arguably top 10. And as good as he is offensively, though, he is bad defensively. However, he is still an amazing player. And of course, he has a co-star in CJ McCollum, who had a little bit of a down year, although his stats would kind of stay different, as he averaged 22 points per game, 4 assists per game, shooting 45% from the field and 38% from 3. Like Damian Lillard, while he's just an okay playmaker, he's a good scorer and shooter, and he is an all-star level player. And like Damian Lillard too, he is bad defensively. However, more on that later. Plus, CJ McCollum is still a very good player, and he's a huge reason why the Trailblazers were able to sneak into the 8th seed too. They were able to get Jusuf Nurkic back after a very gruesome injury in the 18-19 season last year. He performed all right, and he's a pretty solid center. And Gary Trent Jr. also emerged in the Orlando bubble, as he averaged 13 points per game, shooting 52% from the field and 51% from 3. He's a good scorer and shooter, and I think he can be a good 6th man for this team. And I could see an avenue one day when he starts. Trevor Ariza, who they acquired before the deadline, is a good 3-and-D wing. Carmelo Anthony they signed before the season, during at the very beginning of the season, man. And he's a good spot-up shooter and a pretty solid rebounder too. He averaged 15 points per game, and he shot 38.5% from 3. Overall, pretty solid stuff from him. Zach Collins is also a very solid young player, and he did not play most of this year, unfortunately, due to an injury. However, he can score and rebound, and he's a pretty solid player. Rodney Hood, who unfortunately got injured in the middle of the season, is still a pretty good player for them, as he averaged 11 points per game and he shot 49% from 3. Hassan Whiteside is a good traditional big who averaged 15.5 points per game and 13.5 rebounds per game and 3 blocks per game, shooting 62% from the field. Now, with all of those notable players out of the way, well, let's just talk about what went wrong for this team. Now, what went wrong for this team is not entirely in their control, as it was a mix of injury, but it was also a mix of bad defense and really CJ McCollum also being inconsistent. CJ McCollum has to be more consistent if Portland wants to be a better team, but also at the same time, they need to get more defense on this team. In the offseason of 2019, they lost Maurice Harkless and Al-Farouq Aminu, and that was not good, as they were a key part of their defense. And this year, Portland ranked 27th in defensive ratings this past season, and that is just not good at all. And well, now we should talk about, well, this free agency class. In this free agency class, I'm going to speak a little bit about it. I think it has some good role players. Now, it by no means has any team-changing stars that will take them to the next level. However, good role players are, something you really need on a good team. Jeremy Grant, Jay Crowder, and more guys are some good 3-and-D wings that Portland should try and get. Now, please don't get Jeremy Grant, since my Nuggets need him. Portland, please don't do it anyways. In all seriousness though, now I want to talk about CJ McCollum. the guy was inconsistent this year, and I do believe that they should trade him. And now, it's not totally because he was kind of inconsistent this year. It was mainly just the fact that, well, they need to improve their defense, and as good as he is offensively, they need a good defensive backcourt mate next to Damian Lillard. And that's going to bring me in to the trades. And this first trade I have is a trade between the Magic and the Trailblazers, in which Portland gets Aaron Gordon, Evan Fournier, and a second-round pick, while Orlando gets CJ McCollum and Zach Collins. Now, I could see Portland doing this because they get a second-round pick and Aaron Gordon, who's a good defender, and he's a more athletic Draymond Green, essentially, you know? And I think he needs a change of scenery. Orlando just isn't the place, and I think Portland would be a perfect place. He can function as essentially a more athletic Draymond Green. Orlando could also do this since they can finally trade Aaron Gordon. Not only that, but they get some good offense, and even Orlando has some good defense and all, but some perimeter shot creation would be nice on this team to take them to the next level, and I think CJ McCollum would do just that. For this next trade, we have one between the 76ers and Blazers, in which Portland gets Joel Embiid, Josh Richardson, and a 2020 second, while Philadelphia gets CJ McCollum, Yusuf Nurkic, along with 2 firsts. Yeah, this is a big one. Anyways, now I could see this possibly happening if Philadelphia wants to trade either Simmons or Embiid, and Portland would do this to get a good defensive guard / wing who's also okay offensively. But Joel Embiid and Damian Lillard would also be very good. Joel Embiid would have much better spacing in Portland, and he can be the post scorer that he is and, you know, just play his game. And Philadelphia would get a nice perimeter shot creator in CJ McCollum, and Ben Simmons would finally get a little bit more floor spacing, and it would be pretty good for both sides. Plus, not only that, but Philly also gets 2 first-round picks. This third trade was heavily rumored during the deadline, and it was heavily rumored to happen during the season. So this third trade is between the Spurs and the Trailblazers, and I think you guys can already get and see where this is going. In this one, Portland gets LaMarcus Aldridge, while San Antonio gets Zach Collins, Anfernee Simons, Trevor Ariza, and a second-round pick. Now, there were heavy rumors of this happening, as I said before, and I think one reason why Portland might do this is because they think this could take them to another level with more star power, and that is definitely a bit of a solution. However, I'm not sure if it's the best one out there, but it is definitely an idea, as LaMarcus Aldridge would be a great scoring option next to Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum. San Antonio would do this as they can get some solid young players in Anfernee Simons and Zach Collins, along with just being able to trade LaMarcus Aldridge and start a rebuild. This fourth trade is similar to the LaMarcus Aldridge trade. Portland would get Kevin Love, while the Cavaliers would get Trevor Ariza, Zach Collins, Rodney Hood, and a second-round pick. Cleveland would get Zach Collins, who's a solid young player, and they'd also get a second-round pick too, and they can finally trade Kevin Love and his massive contract. Portland, they'd essentially get white LaMarcus Aldridge, I guess, except he's a better rebounder. Anyways, this is really not that bad of a trade for both sides if Portland wants to go the route of let's just get more star power and still try to contend. Now, as you guys can see in the thumbnail, it asks whether they should trade Damian Lillard, and this fifth trade kind of talks about that, as it's between the 76ers and the Blazers yet again, except this time Portland would get Ben Simmons along with 2 firsts, and Philadelphia would get Damian Lillard along with 2 firsts. To address whether they should do this, I mean, it depends. If they feel like that it's time to do it, to trade Damian Lillard and just start a rebuild, then this is a very good trade, as Ben Simmons is a really good young player who can defend, and he's good at slashing at the rim, and is really just a pretty good young player, along with 2 firsts. Philadelphia would get Damian Lillard, who's a good perimeter shot creator, and is just a good point guard in general, along with 2 firsts. Really, it's not that bad of a trade for either sides. As for the sixth and final trade, well, this one is between the Knicks and the Trailblazers, and in this one, Portland would get RJ Barrett, Dennis Smith Jr., Julius Randle, and 3 first-round picks, while New York gets Damian Lillard and Mario Hezonja. Now, Damian Lillard to the Knicks is something I've seen because, well, the media wants every star to go to the Knicks or the Lakers, and I mean, it's actually not a completely unrealistic trade. For one thing, New York seems like they want to build through free agency, and getting Damian Lillard can help attract a star like Giannis or Kawhi maybe, or Paul George, or just some star in free agency. Now, I could see Portland doing this too to also just kickstart a rebuild. RJ Barrett's a good young player. Dennis Smith Jr., he's whatever. Julius Randle is also a pretty solid player. Plus, they got 3 first-round picks. Overall, it's pretty solid. So really, what do I think this team should do? If I'm Portland, I would try and maybe possibly run it back one more year. If not, well, after that, it's just a rebuild. Now, as for why they should rebuild after this, is because I feel like with this current roster, they already hit their ceiling, the Western Conference. Now, maybe if they make some moves, their level can be out, the ceiling that they have can be elevated. But after, without 1 year, then I think they should trade them, because Damian Lillard's value is very high right now. They can get a very juicy return for him right now, and I think it would be not too bad of an idea to trade Damian Lillard. But that's kind of all I have to say for this Portland team. I think they should maybe try to run it back one more year. If not, then that's it, just rebuild. But with all of that being said though, you guys, well, that's the end of today's video. If you guys really did enjoy today's video, please like the video, as it really helps out the channel. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new, as I am trying to reach 100 subscribers, and I will be doing a Q&A then, and it would be greatly appreciated if we could reach that goal. And with all of that being said though, you guys, well, I'm out, you guys.